Over the past 25 years, Tour de France race bikes have changed so much, and looking back over the years, it's incredible to see just how far we've come. From aluminium frames and 9-speed group sets to today's fully integrated aero superbikes with carbon everything and electronic wireless shifting. This video isn't a history lesson, it's a reminder that race wins still sell bikes. Whether you like it or not, Tour de France victories do continue to shape what many of us ride and the bikes we buy. So today, I'm looking back at my pick of the most iconic Tour de France race bikes of the past 25 years. Now, before we dive in, a quick reminder of some of the key tech developments that have shaped and transformed bikes this century. In the early 2000s, we saw a shift from aluminium and magnesium for the frame material to carbon fibre. Shimano Di2 launched in 2009, the SRAM followed with the ETAP, and mechanical shifting was phased out in favour of electronic and wireless shifting. Aerodynamics also arrived in the 2010s as well and totally shaped how bikes now look, and carbon fibre wheels became the norm too. Handlebars changed from round profile two-piece to aero cockpits, and handlebars got narrow. But while they got narrow, tyres got wide, from 21 to 23, 25 years ago, to 28, 30 and wider. And those tyres are now tubeless with sealants inside and no more tubular tyres are glued to the rims. Disc brakes also arrived as well, perhaps the most controversial development in the past 25 years. And despite the UCI introducing a weight limit of 6.8 kilos, bikes today aren't really lighter than they were 25 years ago. So let's dive in and go back precisely 25 years to the Trek 5500, the precursor to the Madone. This was the first carbon fibre bike to win the Tour de France, and it set a tone for the future. The bike was made in the USA using Trek's own OCLV carbon fibre layout, a big leap forward in manufacturing at the time. The frame weighed around 1,250 grams, which heavy by today's standards, but a revolution at the time. Now, 25 years ago, carbon fibre was a new material, and Trek's OCLV was a technique that allowed the company to tightly compact the carbon layers with minimal resin, increasing strength while reducing weight. And it was a massive step for production carbon frames at the time, but the process is one that's pretty commonplace in the carbon manufacturing world these days. The bike was equipped with Shimano's latest and greatest Dura-Race 7700, a 9-speed group set with traditional handlebars and aluminium wheels. Aero wasn't part of the conversation yet. That would come many years later after the Madone was introduced in 2003. Names are better than numbers, right? And would eventually spawn the Monda, and then go full circle to Madone being the only race bike for Trek. One of my favourite Tour de France race bikes of all time has to be the Specialized Tarmac SL2, launched in 2008. It took Specialized quite a while to figure out how to build a truly competitive race bike, but the SL2 was the company's first real success. It was raced with distinction by riders like Tom Boonen and was among the stiffest bikes of its era. It also looked fantastic, in my opinion, and still does, and a bike I wish I still owned. And back then, you could build a complete bike weighing just over 6 kilograms for around £5,000. Oh, how things have changed and prices have gone up since then. The SL series evolved significantly over the years, eventually being phased out with the SL6, so that SL2 really went a long way with the SL3, SL4, SL5, then the SL6 ushered in a more aero profile, because the SL2 wasn't about aero, it was about weight and stiffness. It was a sharp, aggressive and super stiff race bike, everything you want from a bike to compete in the Tour de France. Although it wasn't until 2010 that Tarmac finally won the Tour de France under Andy Schleck after Alberto Contador was disqualified. But the first proper win was Vincenzo Nibali in 2014. And then the award for the bike that won the most Tour de France victories is, unsurprisingly, the Pinarello Dogma, thanks largely to the dominance of Team Sky, now Ineos Grenadier. Back in 2006, you might not believe this, the Pinarello Dogma FPX featured a blend of magnesium and carbon fibre in the frame. But for me, it was the launch of the Dogma F8, developed in partnership with Jaguar, the car company, that marked a big leap forward for the Dogma platform. For me, it's still one of the most iconic bikes of the modern era, and it looked incredible at the time, distinctive, aggressive, and ahead of its time. It combined aero shaping and low weight in a true all-rounder, years before Specialized followed suit with the Tarmac SL2, which merged the Tarmac and Avenge into one platform. And while the Dogma has evolved over the years, the fundamental design ethos of the F8 remains visible in the current Dogma F. It's been refined, tweaked, and improved, but unmistakably a Dogma. A key design theme and a hint of marketing perhaps in the F8 that it introduced was the asymmetric frame design, designed to balance the forces going through the bike when you're stamping on the pedals. And the frame also brought in aero features without compromising the ride quality as well, setting a new benchmark for the all-round race bike. Cervelo might be a familiar sight on the Tour de France podium these days thanks to a very successful team, but they've been a consistent presence in the pro peloton for the entire century. Their first Tour de France victory actually came in 2008 with Carlos Sastre winning on the R3 SL, a bike that pushed carbon technology to the limit. It featured a sub 1 kilogram frame at a time when most were much heavier, with an impressive stiffness to weight ratio that made it a favourite among climbers and classic riders alike. And who can forget the trademark squoval down tube and pencil thin rear stays? For a few years, a white R3 was the bike to have. I loved testing it back then, and I still wish I had one in my collection. I'm actually looking for one on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, so if you own one and you're selling it, let me know, drop a comment down below. So the R3's Tour de France win helped cement Cervelo in the World Tour. From the Tour-winning CSC team through to the iconic Cervelo test team and now Team Visma Lease bike, they are a pretty common sight on the Tour de France peloton. Even though the original founders are no longer involved and not really a Canadian company anymore, it remains a strong, innovative brand. But for me personally, it was Fabien Cancellara's 2 Paris-Roubaix wins aboard an R3 that made it truly iconic. That blend of lightness, stiffness and comfort was unmatched at the time and made the R3 one of the most desirable bikes of its era. And finally, one of my favourite and easily one of the most iconic, for me, Tour de France race bikes that never actually won the blooming race is the Cannondale SuperSix Evo High Mod. What a bike. Cannondale's history at the Tour is a fascinating one. While Trek was pioneering carbon fibre 25 years ago, Cannondale was still producing high-end aluminium frames. They were slow to the carbon fibre party. Frames like the CAD 4, which was raced in the 2000 Tour while Trek was winning with its OCLV carbon bike, followed by the iconic CAD 8, all legends in their own right. The company's first steps in carbon fibre came slowly with the 613, which combined a carbon top tube, down tube and seat tube with an aluminium rear triangle. So as you can see, they were reluctant to give up their aluminium heritage. But that bike eventually led to their first full carbon frame, the SuperSix, launched in 2007. But for me, it was the SuperSix Evo launched in 2012 that really marked a massive leap forward, not just for the brand, but for carbon fibre bikes in general. It remains one of the lightest frames ever made, far lighter than today's disc brake equipped bikes, and offers phenomenal stiffness to weight and sharp, intuitive handling, and the comfort for a time for a race bike was just phenomenal. It quickly earned a cult following. I still own one, and while the latest aero version is better on paper, for me it doesn't have the same X factor as that original Evo. That original high mod used high modulus carbon fibre in key areas of the frame to achieve a crazy low weight of 695 grams with paint, and lighter if you strip the paint off, and amazing stiffness to weight ratio, fantastic comfort, handling and looks. So that's my take on some of the most iconic Tour de France race bikes of the last 25 years. Each of these bikes define their time, not because of race wins, but for the technology they brought to the peloton. And if you want to see how a modern race bike from 2025 compares to a 2015 bike from the Specialized Tarmac SL4 to the SL8, then watch the video right up here.